Black History Month means to me it's just a celebration of our heritage and our culture, and obviously we get a month to celebrate our achievements.
Black History Month for me is a celebration of how far we've come and the fact that we don't feel that we're more accepted and equal than people that our ancestors used to be.
Me growing up in Sheffield, I'm from a very multicultural area. Went to a very multicultural school full of minorities and ethnics and etc. And yeah, it's problems of racism for me growing up was minimal, to be honest. And my area is just an area where we all embrace one another.
I grew up on Fir Park, Sheffield. The community is very mixed. So the school, I went to Fir Park School. Very mixed group. It's probably the majority of people was white, but then you had a lot of mixed race, black people, Asian, Indian people, Somali people. It was a very mixed group, which to me was very good because that was what I was used to in my area. People of all nationalities, not far from where I live. So I feel like growing up in that environment, although you begin to learn about racism when you get a little bit older and able to understand it. From being a kid, you just play. Doesn't matter the colour of the skin of the person is. So them barriers are broken down from early. It doesn't matter what colour people are. You just play because you like playing with that person. And I feel like when the school's that mixed, you don't get subjected to it.
Racism with regards to football and myself is it's just the ignorant sort of racism, the one what's not as in your face and obvious racism, where people say it tongue in cheek and think, like even in the changing room stuff growing up, where it's not necessarily, there's no intention of the racism they've been trying to say. It's just very ignorant views and words that are used that can be hurtful to people, and I know certain people have said them in a manner which is not meant to come across that way, but yeah, very ignorant.
It was more of the kind of everyday racism. It's not what's said, it's how you made to feel. So although no one ever said anything direct to me at times, you can feel the presence of it, the way people look at you, the way you made to feel when you go into certain places, maybe certain buildings. You feel you're very aware of, you feel belittled to the people in front of you, and I feel that's everyday racism because there's automatically a stigma to how you're perceived.
I think when you think of some of the sport, the top end black sport athletes and stuff, and you look at your likes of your Lewis Hamiltons, who's gone into a sport where it's never been a sport where you associate with a black person, and also all of a sudden to be the face of the sport and be the best driver in the sport and win all the accolades that he has, and that's something you have to look up to. And same with Tiger Woods. He's gone into a sport that's been dominated by white men through history, and he took over the sport and transcended it and made it a bigger worldwide appeal. So you have to look at them sort of people and just give nothing but respect to them.
People like Ian Wright, John Fashionable, Les Ferdinand, because they was all in the England football team, so I managed to see a little bit of them when I was younger. And things that they dealt with, I feel like they was some of the first people to break through, especially to like the England team. Some of the abuse they got is completely different to now. You know what I mean? They were receiving like direct abuse, and is very verbal, and they was meant to feel like outcasted at times if they didn't play the best games. And they kind of paved the way for people like myself to have a more comfortable journey coming through sports. Then you've got, you know, people like Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan. I feel like they're probably the next step along from like Les Ferdinand and them, probably a few years between them. And for me, they was, you know, like probably like the first like real superstars in their sport that was like worldwide, where it wasn't like black people just accepted them, everyone loved them and accepted them, and everyone wanted to, you know, be part of their bandwagon, if you want to call it. Everyone just celebrated them because of how good they was at their sport. There was no racism, colour this, colour that. It was just that they were so good. Everyone wanted to be a part of what they was a part of. So I feel like they broke down a lot of barriers because nobody thought about colour. Everyone just came together and celebrated because of how good they was at their sport. So they was role models to me because of what they did. They was that good. People didn't worry about the colour of their skin. They just played, and people knew it was great and it was entertaining. But then there's also the flip side. If they fell off a little bit, how would people react to them then? They'll become that, you know, that black person that is struggling. And, you know, sometimes sport's very fickle and fans can be just as fickle. If you're not doing well, that's the pressure that I feel some people feel within sport. It's all right when everything's going well and you're doing well, but as soon as you're not, you're subjected to that racism. I feel like that's the pressure of, you know, being a successful black sports person at times.
Obviously the George Floyd situation was just clear as everyone to see that he was just bang out of order, and the movement, what's gone on from that is just, it gave, as bad as the situation was, it shed a light onto a lot of people's lives in America, etc., and what a lot of people have to go through. And it was a bad situation, obviously, and in one way was all horrified to see. But it shed some light on what people do actually go through, and now we are having a little bit of, we're getting a little bit of attention towards it. I wouldn't say as much as it should, but that's a different question or here or there. But it's like our sport now, as we've taken the knee and stuff, it's put racism, it's given it a bit of a global appeal, and as daft as it sounds, which it's allowed people to pay attention to what is really going on in the world. Because it's something we as a club believe in strongly, and we take the knee every game to show our respects and to make sure that these situations are reviewed and looked at, and we try to eradicate racism. And that's why, as much as the gesture is seen to have a bigger meaning, and there's some people that don't believe in it, we do it for our reason and our reasons to get the message of we don't accept no racism.
Like that education, just make people aware of certain things, and just to learn a little bit about different cultures, kind of help them from being, you know, as ignorant as they are at times.
It's just educating people for the long term. It's just education, basically. It's just education and getting the little bits of tongue-in-cheek racism what we see as normal growing up and stuff like that. It's just eradicating that, and that'll be a good start, because some people are racist without really knowing they are, and that's where the education side comes into it. And the more we can eradicate the little things, it will help in the long term eradicate the bigger picture and the bigger problem that is racism.